The last few weeks around Marcus Freeman have felt like a collision of pressure, speculation, noise, and clarity, the kind of stretch that tests not just a coach's resolve, but the entire identity of a program that lives under the brightest lights in college football. Notre Dame's head coach has been at the center of conversations that stretch far beyond South Bend, conversations about the NFL, about loyalty, about ambition, about controversy, and now about a new role that places him squarely on the national stage in a different way. On the biggest night the sport has to offer, Freeman will step into the spotlight not with a headset and a play sheet, but with a microphone. As ESPN confirmed, he will serve as a special guest analyst on College Game Day ahead of the national championship. It is a moment that feels symbolic, a recognition not just of Freeman's football mind, but of the credibility he has built in a remarkably short period of time as one of the most respected voices in the game. College Game Day's final broadcast of the season, set to begin Monday evening before the national title kickoff, is always treated as an event unto itself, a celebration and a reckoning wrapped into one long, emotional prelude to the sport's ultimate stage. To be invited into that space is not incidental. It is ESPN's way of signaling that Freeman's perspective matters, that his experience navigating the modern college football playoff landscape carries weight, and that his voice resonates with fans beyond the Notre Dame bubble. Freeman will break down a championship matchup between Miami and Indiana, two programs whose paths to this moment reflect the evolving chaos and opportunity of the expanded playoff era. For Freeman, the analysis will be personal as much as professional. Notre Dame crossed paths with both teams this season, facing Miami in Week 1 and Indiana during last year's playoff run, giving him an intimate understanding of the strengths, flaws, and emotional arcs that define each roster. There is also an unspoken layer to Freeman's presence on that set. He is one of the few active head coaches who understands what it feels like to stand on the edge of a championship chase in this new playoff format, to balance preparation with pressure while the entire sport debates who belongs and who does not. That lived experience adds gravity to every word he will offer, because it comes from someone still in the arena, still accountable for every decision, still feeling the consequences of selection Sundays and postseason outcomes. In that sense, Freeman is not just analyzing a title game, he is representing a coaching generation learning to survive and thrive amid unprecedented change. This broadcasting role arrives at a time when Freeman's future has been a recurring topic of national discussion. Over the past year, his name has surfaced repeatedly in NFL circles, a reflection of both his age and his trajectory. At just 40, Freeman has already positioned himself as a leader capable of commanding a locker room, navigating NIL realities, adapting to portal dynamics, and sustaining competitive relevance at one of the most scrutinized programs in the country. NFL interest, whether real or speculative, has followed naturally. Yet, despite the noise, Freeman has remained consistent in his public stance, reaffirming that he is the head coach at Notre Dame and that his focus remains on the work in front of him. ESPN's Adam Schefter reported that Freeman is expected to stay with the Fighting Irish through at least the 2026 season, a timeline that aligns with Freeman's own words and the trust he continues to express in the program's direction. Freeman has never framed NFL curiosity as a distraction or a temptation. Instead, he has described it as a byproduct of team success, something that reflects the growth of the program rather than an invitation to leave it behind. He has spoken openly about using conversations with NFL executives as opportunities to learn, to gather perspective on roster building and leadership, and to sharpen his own understanding of what excellence looks like at the highest level. But those conversations, by his own admission, have not altered his sense of purpose. Notre Dame remains the place where he believes he can achieve everything he wants and needs, both professionally and personally. That sense of grounding has been especially important amid recent turbulence away from the field. Freeman found himself unexpectedly pulled into headlines following a brief altercation at his son's high school wrestling match, an incident that spiraled into accusations and public scrutiny.
Accounts later clarified that the exchange involved a confrontation with a new Prairie High School wrestling coach and was limited in scope, but the situation nonetheless added another layer of stress to an already intense stretch. Through it all, Notre Dame stood firmly behind its head coach, issuing a statement calling the accusations totally unfounded and reinforcing its support for Freeman and his family. Freeman, in turn, expressed gratitude for the university's backing, a reminder of the mutual trust that has become foundational to his tenure. In many ways, Freeman's upcoming appearance on College Game Day feels like a counterbalance to that noise, a chance to redirect attention back to football, back to insight, back to the sport itself. It is also a reflection of how Freeman is viewed nationally, not just as a recruiter or motivator, but as a thinker, a communicator, and a leader whose perspective adds value to the broader conversation. ESPN's decision to bring him onto its biggest platform of the season underscores that belief. The irony, of course, is that the championship game Freeman will help preview features a Miami team whose inclusion in the playoff field once sparked controversy at Notre Dame's expense. When Miami was selected over the Irish earlier in the process, debate erupted across the sport, with critics questioning the criteria and consistency of the selection committee. Notre Dame, for its part, pushed back against accusations and speculation, standing by its body of work and its internal evaluations. Miami's subsequent run to the national title game has shifted the narrative, offering validation to the committee's decision, while leaving Notre Dame to reckon with the familiar pain of being just outside the door. Freeman has never leaned into bitterness about those moments. Instead, he has framed them as lessons, reminders that the margin for error in modern college football is razor thin, and that the only true antidote is dominance that leaves no doubt. That mindset has guided Notre Dame's off-season approach, from roster management to scheduling philosophy, and it will undoubtedly color Freeman's analysis as he sits on set Monday night. He understands better than most that championships are not just about talent or momentum, but about timing, health, belief, and the ability to withstand relentless scrutiny. For Freeman, the night will be layered with meaning. It will be a chance to speak to millions of viewers not as a rumor, not as a headline, not as a subject of speculation, but as a coach deeply engaged with the game he loves. It will be an opportunity to demonstrate the depth of his football acumen, to articulate the nuances of preparation and pressure, and to show why his name continues to surface in conversations about the sport's future. And it will serve as a quiet affirmation that despite the swirl of outside interest and off-field distractions, Freeman's voice remains anchored in credibility and respect. As the lights come up in Miami and College Game Day begins its final broadcast of the season, Marcus Freeman will occupy a space that bridges worlds. He will be a sitting head coach analyzing a championship he is not playing in, a Notre Dame leader discussing a playoff that once left his team on the outside, and a rising figure in the sport who has chosen, at least for now, continuity over uncertainty. In a landscape defined by constant motion, that steadiness is its own statement. And for one night, before the ball is kicked and another champion is crowned, Freeman's journey, perspective, and presence will be woven into the story of college football's biggest stage.